This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Robert Fekkes at Nerdster330 on Instagram.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. I'm your host, the aforementioned Matt Hurt, and with me today is recurring co-host Robert Fekkes. How's it going?
Oh, good.
Good. We haven't been talking for the last, that's 36 minutes. That's not bad.
Ooh,
yeah. We just recorded a very fun, Patreon exclusive recording, where Fekkes, talked about how much he enjoyed going to Italy, and I lived vicariously through all of his stories.
Yeah, that'll happen. Yeah, a lot of people do. It's okay.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Yeah. Also, I won't go into any more detail, but if you pledge on Patreon and listen to that recording, you might learn how to ride a bike. You might.
Or you might learn how my wife reacts to me teaching people how to ride bikes.
You might learn those two things, or you might learn how not to ride a Segway. But no, it was fun, and glad you had a good trip and everything. I held down Indianapolis for you, so
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yep. Thank you. So anyway, today we have a pretty exciting episode. We are going to be reviewing It Chapter 2, which, if you also listen to Tower Junkies, you will know that there is an episode reviewing It Chapter 2 on that podcast as well. Those are different episodes. So me and Tiny recorded a review of It Chapter 2 on Tower Junkies, where we kind of go into the weeds a little bit about the book and the differences between the book and the adaptation. Since you have not read it, we're going to be reviewing it kind of from that perspective. And so I'm looking forward to that. I do have some news and stuff that I want to bring up. At the end of the Patreon exclusive, we talked a little bit about the footage from the new Star Wars movie.
Right.
I don't know if we've talked since the Disney Plus stuff.
We had a short back and forth on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
When that trailer hit.
I was super unimpressed, I think. What was my thing? Oh,
I think you're griping about her staff lightsaber, and I kind of defended it because they've kind of started her first weapon was a bow staff, so I feel like it's only a natural progression that she would find herself with a familiar weapon. Yeah,
and I admit I was totally reaching there because my whole argument was that, like, okay, well, that's cool, like it is. Just objectively speaking, in the footage we saw, it looks cool, and I'm excited for that because, as much as I, am not a fan of Star Wars, like, it's undeniable that Maul's lightsaber in The Phantom Menace is, like, one of the cocoolest things.
Oh, yeah. People geeked out on that. It's huge when they first saw it.
And to see something similar but also different is really kind of exciting. But, my whole thing was like, okay, well, I took a negative perspective on it.
Weird.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Because I feel like part of it is that I just don't get excited for Star Wars because I'm just not a fan. Like, I've made my peace with that. But also it's just like, okay, like the things that like is exciting. Like in the back of my head, it's like, okay, well, it's not like this was planned from the first movie because it's very clear, like they did not have the three movies mapped out. Like each director has like their own say in it, and like that's cool for the filmmakers, but I just feel like going into The Rise of Skywalker,
I feel like you guys just put too much emphasis on the fact that it has been planned. The original trilogy wasn't planned.
That's
like the
true.
reason they put Han Solo and Carbonite at the end of the second one is because they didn't know whether or not Harrison Ford would even be back.
See, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Huh. So there has been movies of series made not on a blueprint, and that's fine.
And
it doesn't have to be mapped out specifically from the get-go.
And I definitely understand that point, and I'm trying my hardest not to be a snarky douchebag, but I will say that I agree that is a true statement, that like not all franchises need to be mapped out in anything. And yes, the original trilogy was kind of movie by movie, kind of as they came. But I feel like now in the 2010s, we're in an era where like we know like it's the new golden age of television where things get mapped out, Lost notwithstanding, but like things like Breaking Bad, like it's serialized storytelling like on TV, and like Netflix has everything all posting at once. It's like,
but the MCU's not mapped out.
That's true, but also I kind of feel like Kevin Feige had like
they've had
more
they had vague things of what they wanted to do, but if you're gonna sit here and tell me that they knew from Iron Man 1 how Avengers 2 was gonna end, I'm gonna tell you you're wrong.
That's right. I agree, but they do map out phases and everything, which to me is
okay. But that's still like they're in the middle of phase 2 before they even realize we're gonna fucking get Spider-Man. You gotta let go of not everything being a blueprint, because just because Breaking Bad or whatever was blueprinted to a meticulous amount, it doesn't mean everything has to be.
Yeah, but and maybe I'm just,
and you know what was planned out to a meticulous amount? Episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Oh yeah, that's it. Sure, but that's also different because that's George Lucas. Like, my understanding, it's in surrounding himself with yes men and not like it wasn't like a collaborative
I'm just saying,
kind of thing.
just because something's planned out meticulously doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes stories go someplace where that wasn't originally intended, and it does so organically. And sometimes even the writers themselves are surprised where it takes them. And that's okay. Nothing, you know, maybe something mapped out on paper doesn't work after they've seen the first movie, on the screen. They're like, you know what? I don't like that direction. I'm going to go this way.
That's fair. But I don't know. I feel like just having a I feel like we're at an impasse. We're not going to.
Oh, we're not going to agree.
Yeah. But I think my kind of thing is that like, it's just looking one movie at a time, like strictly one movie at a time. And
most franchises are like that though. Yeah. It's not a TV show. It's not a serialized episodic television show. It's a movie. And I know they call them episode 1, 2, and 3. Right, I get that, but they are films.
Yeah. I was not going to debate you on semantics with that. That would be just douchey.
Right.
But they are to an extent serialized story, or like it's not like they made The Force Awakens and then they're like, well, if it does well, we'll do a next one. It's like they went in saying like, we're going to have a movie a year. And
but they went in knowing that they wanted to make another trilogy. Mm-hmm. And Rian Johnson is going to write another trilogy.
And that's why I'm excited for
I'm going to tell you right now, it's not mapped out.
I want to believe that it is.
It's not.
And D.B. Weiss and Benioff's stuff. I don't know. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of excited about The Mandalorian, just because.
Oh, I'm super excited about The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Let's stop the debate here and just talk about the Mandalorian trailer. Cause we're not going to get anywhere and we've talked it to death. But the Mandalorian trailer, it looks stunning. Like, it looks beautiful, and I'm as excited as I can be for it. How did you feel about that trailer?
Well, I've only seen it once, but I remember thinking it looked amazing. So I have kind of kept myself away from the news on The Mandalorian. Just I want to be surprised with it.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a whole lot of idea of what's supposed to be happening. I know when the timeline is and the general concept, but so it's after episode 3, and I guess one of the things that they're going to be showing, or it's after episode, after episode 6.
Oh, okay.
And they're going to be showing kind of how the First Order kind of comes to pass.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge on it. And I watched the trailer, I saw it once, and so I'm just kind of staying away from any news about it.
And, I mean, I feel like there isn't much news to kind of avoid anyway.
It's Disney.
So
they're going to be tight-lipped. So.
Yeah, but visually it looks cool, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I don't want to harp on this because we all know my feelings about the whole idea of like, oh, the streaming wars or whatever. But Disney Plus is coming out, and like, Jesus, that's so soon. Huh. Like November.
Yeah.
And then like a week or two before that, I think Apple TV Plus is coming out.
It's, it's one of those things where, cable's dead.
Yeah.
I'm cutting my cable next week.
Nice.
Cassie wanted to get through the season finale of Ink Masters.
Okay.
And me too, because I like that show.
How are you going to do like sports and stuff? Because that was one of the big sticking points.
Hulu Live.
Okay. Nice.
So with Hulu Live, I'll be able to watch any regular Sunday games and the Monday night games.
Okay.
And Amazon Prime has contract for 11 Thursday night games.
Yeah, okay. I've seen that on Amazon Prime.
I'm going to play that by year, and if that doesn't work out for me, I think next year I'll just get the NFL package through my PlayStation.
Okay. Have you, and not to switch gears or anything, but have you seen that? I haven't looked into it because it's not my interest, but AMC's doing some Sunday night or Sunday football thing.
No.
I have seen on the app it says like, oh, here's our not Sunday ticket. I know that's a different thing, but like apparently like the idea is that you can go to a movie theater and see the game on the big screen.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
First of all, here's the thing. If I'm going to go anywhere to watch a football game, I'm going to go to a bar.
Yeah.
Where I can have drinks at a reasonable price.
Yeah, I was just going to say, not a 16.
Yeah, and I did that last Thursday. For those who don't know, they just legalized sports betting in Indiana. So last Thursday, I went and laid my first bet down, and of course, I lost my first bet.
Nice.
So I went downtown, put my money down, and I didn't have any means to watch the Thursday night game, so I was like, fuck, you know what? I'm just going to go to a bar. It's like, Cassie was at home. She had homework to do. And, I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to go to a bar. So I went, sat in a bar by myself, had a great time sitting there watching my money go down the drain.
Nice.
Tomorrow night, in fact, I'm going to go, me and Cassie are going to go to the betting bar and watch the game there. Nice. So I'll probably lose money again watching that. But
yeah, I was going to ask you. You did not comment on my invite to you to see Ad Astra tomorrow.
So that's where I'm going to be. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm seeing it Friday.
I'm so excited.
The first thing I'm going to wake up, go to the gym, and go straight to Ad Astra on Friday.
Nice.
That's my plan.
Nice.
So I'm so excited for that movie.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Hopefully we can get a review next week with me, you, and Tiny.
Could be possibly.
Yes, we'll see. But that's cool. So yeah, sports betting, that's awesome.
Yep.
Where were we? Yeah, the Mandalorian and stuff.
So we're talking about the streaming
wars.
Look, it's gonna be one of those things that you're gonna subscribe to which channels pretty much that you want to. I think that's the natural progression of cable. So I already have Netflix.
Yeah.
I already have Amazon Prime. I'm going to upgrade my Hulu, and I'm going to get Disney Plus.
Yeah.
The only thing that, and with all these things included, and of course I'll get an HBO subscription, I'm going to be saving $100 a month.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are saying like, oh, well, this is the new cable because you have to have all these things. And it's like, I don't have CBS All Access right now because the Twilight Zone isn't on. I don't have CBS All Access right now because The Stand isn't on yet. And like I have HBO, but I don't really need it. I could probably go ahead and cut that.
I need it, especially with Watchmen coming up.
Oh yeah, that's true. But like I could cut HBO and then get it back for that. And like it's I don't know, it just bugs the hell out of me.
My one gripe right now is that I still don't. There's nobody that streams Comedy Central.
Oh yeah,
Hulu will still air South Park, so I'm not going to miss South Park. I would almost keep cable for South Park.
Oh yeah,
I am that big of a South Park fan.
Yeah, are you excited that it just got renewed for 3 more seasons?
I am super excited. I keep feeling like Matt Stone and Trey Parker are gonna drop the ball on everyone and say, "Guys, we've been doing this for a long time. We're done." And I understand it if they did, because they've been doing it. Like in my eyes, I think they're still knocking it out of the park.
That's awesome. And how many shows have that longevity?
Right.
Like that's insane.
People debate me on this. I think Family Guy is still showing strong episodes. That's just me. I enjoy.
Sure.
People would tell me I'm stupid for that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I enjoy Family Guy, but I think wholeheartedly that South Park is still consistent.
Nice.
And part of the reason it's so consistent is because they're able to put out these episodes so quickly, and it's so relevant to what's going on in the news cycle. So.
I mean, really, that's pretty much how I get my news anyway.
I'll miss right. Yeah. I'll miss Tosh.0.
Okay.
And I'll miss the Jim Jeffries show. Okay. So I'm gonna have to. Maybe there's a way I can pirate it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we don't condone piracy.
No, and I've been a staunch non-supporter of piracy,
right?
And so I understand the hypocrisy in me saying that.
Like, if I was a supporter of piracy, like, I would have hard drives filled with stuff that I haven't watched, or I would have, like, a folder on my laptop that has, like, the majority of Stephen King audiobooks on it.
Who would do that?
Who would do that?
I think you've given Stephen King enough money that you shouldn't feel bad
That's
about
the thing. I say that in jest, but I do have that. But also, I have every book on Audible.
I mean,
also,
for fuck's sake, you bought the Dark Tower.
I did.
Like, one other person did it, and he did it by mistake.
Yeah. Oh, God. I still think about the story of, like, when you saw it in the theater and that guy left and was like, I waited 30 fucking years for this. God. Oh, that movie. Anyway, I do think that Amazon Prime has some add-on channel that has Comedy Central stuff, but I don't think it's, like, Comedy Central streaming or anything. I think it's just, like, a collection of old Comedy Central things.
Oh, yeah, I don't need anything old.
Yeah.
You know, I'll manage.
Yeah.
So it's no big deal. I'm not gonna, if I have to miss Tosh.0 and Jim Jeffries show, okay, so be it.
Yeah. And also, like, my big counter to people complaining about the influx of streaming services, it's like, okay, if you feel like you have to get each one, there's literally no way that you'll get your money's worth if you have all of those. Like, I don't get my money's worth, and I have like 3 or 4.
There's no way I get my money's worth. You know, there's things that I have had on my queue on Netflix for probably since I've had Netflix.
Yeah, same here.
So, you know, there's things that I tell myself I'll get around to, and maybe now that I'll cut cable, I'll no longer just sit there and have the white noise of fucking, I don't know, drug wars on.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, no, I'll just kind of put this on.
Sure.
Maybe I'll actually throw something on and pay attention to it. So, or I'll just put Family Guy on repeat and use it for white noise.
Yeah.
But
that's what I do.
Yeah. So it's, people are going to complain no matter what.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest. I was one of those complainers, with the CBS All Access Part 2 at first. Cause I was like, come on. It's like, you're gonna put this, cause I wanted to see the Twilight Zone. And so I was like, well, what? Why are you gonna make me pay for it?
Yeah.
And
I may or may not have a hard drive.
my contention originally was CBS is already a channel. Okay.
Sure.
Put it on the CBS channel. And I'm past it now. They're gonna do what they're gonna want to do. I think NBC just announced theirs too. Peacock.
Yeah, Peacock, which, fine.
Yeah, everyone's going to have it. So I'll subscribe to the ones I'll watch the most, and that'll be the end of it. Yeah. And I'm not going to be paying $220 a month now for cable.
And that's great. The thing about I want to talk about Peacock, and then we have to get to our Chapter 2 review. But Peacock, like, I find that interesting, and, I mean, it doesn't interest me that much, but I kind of appreciate it from their tactic a little bit, because they're coming out of the gate with, like, they've got The Office, Parks and Rec, Friends, like they are getting the shows that Netflix
have
like
kind of lapsed on the rights to.
Yeah. And like because Netflix has, like, she's a little testy, so she might like because like she was just biting me.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It was my fault.
Yeah, cats are sweet.
Yeah, they're so sweet. Look at how cute she. Oh, I have some pictures to show you.
No,
anyway,
it's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, for the listener, I have pictures of Pizza where she looks like she's auditioning to be a Disney character, and it's adorable. But anyway, so Peacock, I'm curious to see what happens because they're coming out of the gate with those shows that people have as comfort shows on Netflix, like The Office and all that. So
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I'm not. I guess they're rebooting Saved by the Bell.
Okay, yeah,
and that's fine. Zach Morris is going to be the governor of California.
I read that. I was like, what is this even going to look like? What is this?
I wonder if Mr. Belding's going to crawl out of the bars from getting free shots, actually reprise his role as Mr. Belding.
Nice.
He was in Bloomington not too long ago.
Was he really?
Like that's his thing. He like goes around to these bars and people are just like, Mr. Belding, I'll buy you a shot. And then there's like all kinds of photos on the internet, people taking shots of Mr. Belding.
That's awesome.
Let's be honest, if I saw Mr. Belding, I'd probably buy him a shot too.
Yeah. I know. I don't know if you were on that trip, but Ray, like years ago, was on a Vegas trip and like they drank with Mr. Belding and Robin Leach.
I was not on that one.
Okay, yeah, this was years and years ago. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, I'm gonna try it again.
Nope, I did meet Craig Robinson though.
You did,
yeah,
yes, and he was looking good.
He was looking good.
Yeah,
he lost a lot of weight. Your brother.
Yep. Oh, Raymond, he's getting married.
He is.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, It Chapter 2.
It Chapter 2.
Yeah, we were gonna talk about Shane Gillis and all that.
Nah,
it's whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're going to go into our review of It Chapter 2. Of course, like we always do, we're going to do a non-spoiler review and then a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen it and you want to hear our thoughts, just continue listening. If you want to avoid spoilers, check the show notes, which will be at, in the app and everything that you use, and also on, obsessiveviewer.com/OV295. Also, just quickly, Pocket Cast is a podcast app on Android. I don't know if they have Apple, but she's gonna bite you. There you go. Okay, thank you. But pizza just got off of my lap. Anyway, so Pocket Cast was a paid app. Like I paid $5 for it. And it's like the best podcast app I've ever used. They just announced that they're going to be free now. So check that out if you're looking for a new.
Kind of sucks that you paid $5.
I don't care. Like it was years ago, and I've got my money's worth.
Oh,
like
fair enough.
It's the best like interface and everything, which is kind of a shame because I also have Stitcher Premium for like the comedy podcasts I listen to, so I don't give as much love to Pocket Cast as I used to. But it is my go-to podcast for non-Stitcher Premium stuff. So, having said all that, we're not sponsored by any of those apps. So, check out patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. But, It Chapter 2. So, I'm going to go ahead and read a plot summary, courtesy of IMDb. Defeated by members of the Losers Club, the evil clown Pennywise returns 27 years later to terrorize the town of Derry, Maine once again. Now adults, the childhood friends have long since gone their separate ways. But when people start disappearing, Mike Hanlon calls the others home for one final stand. Damaged by scars from the past, the united losers must conquer their deepest fears to destroy the shape-shifting Pennywise, now more powerful than ever. So, Fekkes, I'm going to kind of defer to you for this review.
Fair enough.
Everything. But before we actually get into it, how did you feel about It Chapter 1 and Stephen King in general? How do you talk?
So I'll start with my familiarity with Stephen King or lack thereof. It's mostly a cinematic familiarity. You know, I've seen his, you know, I've seen The Shining. I've seen, oh my God, Shawshank Redemption. The one where, what's the one where James Caan is the writer?
Oh, Misery.
So,
yeah.
So there's not a whole lot that I've seen of, Stephen King that I've disliked. In fact, I would go on a limb and say I'm pretty big fan of the movies that he's a part of. book-wise. It Chapter 1 I thought was fantastic. Mm-hmm. I fell in love with that movie. It was like one of the best horror films I'd ever seen at that point. So I was extremely excited for It Chapter 2, to the point where I was actually trying to decide which cast members need to be playing the adult version. I'm still kind of... Jessica Chastain's amazing. I love her. I still would have cast Amy Adams.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but that's just my 2 cents on that.
Sure.
So my excitement level for It Chapter 2 was huge.
Nice. And just for the record, like, have you read any Stephen King?
I've read the first, the Gunslinger, and the half of the second book of the Gunslinger. So,
which we still need to work out something. Tower Junkies.
Now I gotta get back into reading that because I don't know why I dropped off, and it wasn't out of lack of interest. I don't know
because I kept saying, "Oh, we'll get you on the podcast," and then it never happened.
Yeah. So and now I got it to read, and I'll be honest with you, I'm going to prioritize it over the Gunslinger stories. So
please do.
Yeah. So, not very well read with Stephen King, but I've seen the majority, or not even the majority. I've seen a good amount of his filmography.
Yeah, there's plenty that's just garbage.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, but hey, if you are interested in a podcast, then there's Stephen King cast. There's Dark Tower Palaver, also Tower Junkies. Anyway, so yeah, that's cool. So you were excited for It Chapter 2.
Super excited.
And like we usually do, what were the conditions in which you saw it? Elephant in the room, there was a OV Facebook group screening Sunday, but apparently
I had to work.
The town is better.
Silly police work.
Yeah.
So I saw it as soon as I could. Let's see, what day did it drop? The 6th?
Thursday, the 5th or 6th or whatever.
5th or 6th. So I had to wait past the weekend to go see it until my days off.
Oh, that's right.
And so it was an afternoon showing, and went to go see it in the IMAX out on the south side. And that was really the way to see it. I really wasn't expecting the IMAX to make that big of a difference, but with the finale part of it, it actually really did.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty empty screening, just me, my Diet Coke, and my snuck-in bag of trail mix.
Oh, nice.
Well, they don't have trail mix there, and I'm not gonna eat the candy, so it's whatever. Judge me if you want, but I did buy a $6 drink, so fuck off.
That's fair, and I always do that whenever I go. I try to get a drink.
Right.
One of my boss actually back on my birthday gave me a $20 gift card to AMC, and like I went and saw a movie today right after work, and I was like, I'm gonna get my hair cut, and then Fekkes is gonna come over afterwards. I'm like, I'll just get dinner here.
Yeah, well,
so I got chicken tenders and a drink.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, they're actually upping their game with their concessions. Like, price is still ridiculous, but like I
had one of their flatbread pizzas once, and it was actually pretty tasty.
We talked about that, and I had it too, and it gave me really ridiculous heartburn.
Well, yeah, I don't get heartburn. So.
But apparently they have, look at you.
Yeah, well.
Mister, I don't get heartburn. Anyway, I was like dated in middle school. But, I'm sorry. But apparently they have like I think like a mac and cheese kind of thing, or like a buffalo mac and cheese or something that they're bringing out. Maybe chili? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit much. But.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's cool. So do you, anything else about the screening, or should I?
No, it was a pretty typical screening.
Nice.
So good times.
Nice. I have seen it twice now. And I have plans to see it a third time on Saturday with Kirsten. So the first time I saw it was, I was too anxious to see it. Like I just wanted to see it.
Sure,
so I saw it Thursday night, opening night. And what's interesting is that I went to like, I think a 7 p.m. screening, and like, I don't know if like, I didn't look up the numbers for the Thursday previews or anything, but like I kind of was comfortable with the amount of people that were there, because it was a pretty sparse like showing and everything. And then like I had looked at different times, because there were different times that I could have gone,
right? And
like the 5:30 showing or whatever was like really packed and everything. But the one that I ended up going to was like a decent amount. Like it was good.
Good.
Yeah. Saw it in regular. All the screenings I've gone to have been regular, so I might try to squeeze in one more time to see it in IMAX.
I think it's worth it, especially for the climax.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, it's 3 hours, so it's like there's enough to justify that, but
it's not like it's costing you any extra anyway.
Exactly. And I am seeing Ad Astra in IMAX tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. Oh, yeah, that's going to be good. So then I was going to go Friday with Tiny, but that didn't work out. We ended up seeing Hobbs and Shaw instead.
I had fun with Hobbs and Shaw.
It was
stupid, but
it was
fun.
exactly what I wanted. And then I did the Facebook group screening on Sunday, which was a lot of fun. Like, it was really great. Someone brought a baby, and the baby was well behaved, except for like the 2 or 3 times during the beginning where it was crying. But I'm like,
it's a long, loud movie. It's
such a long and loud movie.
Yeah.
Like, I know that the baby can't comprehend the images and it's just flashing like whatever. It's not going to, like, I understand that, but like, you have to know it's almost 3 hours. It's 3 hours with trailers.
I could go on a dissertation about my hate towards people bringing small children to the movie theater.
Yeah, and we've documented that plenty of times. But to all of our surprise, like, it was a pretty well behaved little baby. But we had a good turnout. It was me, Tiny's wife, and their friends Donnie, and I can't remember his boyfriend's name. Paige, listener Paige, was there, not Tiny's Paige,
right.
Different Paige. And I made this joke on Tower Chunkies, but, in my head, I wanted to say, I wanted to go up to both of the Pages and Tiny and be like, what is this? An email that I'm sending about the podcast that's really detailed and unnecessarily detailed because it's 2 pages. So
that's not where I would have gone with that. I think I would have been like, man, it's just good to read between the pages here.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been good, especially with the way that they were seated. And damn. Well.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah, but then Matt and Draco was there, and then I was there, and Andy was there, longtime listener Andy.
I'm sorry I had to miss it.
It's all good. It's all good. Kirsten had to miss it too because she was moving and had a bunch of stuff, so that's why I'm going to see it Saturday. Probably. I don't know. We'll see. But, so that was a good experience. That was fun. We talked a little bit more about it on Tower Junkies, so plug there. So Fekkes and non-spoilers, how did you feel about it, Chapter 2?
I really enjoyed it, but I will say it had some weak parts to it, and I don't think it was as strong as the first one.
Okay.
I think I read a lot of reviews saying it didn't stick the landing. I would disagree with that. I think it stuck the landing. Some of the issues I had were technical issues.
Okay.
And I don't know. The first Chapter 1's such a tight.
It really
film,
is.
And that was just not. And I get why it had to be not so cohesive, but it kind of made it seem like a longer film, and it was a longer film, so I get that.
Sure.
And it kind of sounds like I'm dogging on it. And I really enjoyed this film.
Nice.
Like. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it to be, but it was still a really good film, and I think it's a good ending for the movies, for both movies. So no, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy for you. I enjoyed it a lot too. Actually, so it's unique because I've seen it twice. First screening, I came out of it with a lot of gripes, just as a fan of the book, and just that classic okay. They did this instead of this, and they did this and all that. But then, and I had, a lot of time, a week to really kind of ruminate on it, and, I have, legitimate, issues that aren't, book related. But I noticed that when I saw it again at the group screening, those concerns, those gripes kind of kind of took a back seat. Like I was legitimately worried that I was going to be like, oh, okay, well now we're getting to this part, and like it would be like a diminishing returns kind of thing. But knowing what to expect and everything that second time around, it was actually a more enjoyable experience for me.
I thought, and I kind of want to see it again, just to see if this still stands, but I almost thought that they put a little too much reliance on some jump scares in this one.
Yeah, I can see that, but then again, the first one kind of had a decent amount of jump scares too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I watched the first one before before I saw this one. I don't know. I didn't get that impression. But
interesting. I mean, like just that first one alone, like the mirror lady, when the headless guy in the library turns into Pennywise.
See, I thought a lot of the stuff that for me in the first one that was really effective was the imagery, not so much the jump scare sound effect. But I felt like in this one, like I could pick out in certain scenes, like, well, this is the jump scare. It's going to be right here.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't the reliance. Maybe it was just the predictability of the jump scare for me in this one.
And maybe in that case, like it didn't have the same context that the first one did. Like, okay, Pennywise jumping out of the casket in the first one in front of Richie has also the build up of like creepy room full of clown dolls and stuff. So maybe there's
like the imagery was still effective for me in this film. Like it still had like their illusions were still effective for me. So it's not like it was ruined for me. And I really feel like it sounds like I'm dogging this movie, and I really didn't hate this movie. I loved it. But
well, we'll get into more of a love fest and as the review progresses, I think. What did you think of? It's been widely kind of reported on, so I feel like it's okay to. Well, let's keep that in. I'll bring that up in spoilers. So, you mentioned like the illusions, the visual effects and stuff were really great. I really enjoyed them too, because it felt like one of the great things about It Chapter 1 is that it was kind of a low budget kind of thing, but it stretched the budget really well, in my opinion. But here, like they clearly had money.
Yeah. I mean, some of the set pieces were great.
That first one with Pennywise by the river.
That was so well done.
Yeah,
that
all
shot,
the balloons.
That shot was fantastic.
Oh yeah, that whole sequence. That's what I'm kind of saving for spoilers because I don't want to give too much away. But like that was just a brutal way to bring us back.
Really was.
Into it.
That really pushed you right into it.
Yeah. So what did you think of the casting of the losers?
I thought the casting was really well done. I think Bill Hader was probably the standout, and I don't think there's a whole lot of people that dispute that.
Yeah. His
Jessica
first horror movie.
Do what?
His first horror movie.
Yeah. I read a couple of things where he wasn't sure how he was going to react on screen for it, but I thought he nailed it. I think he did a great job.
And he's an incredible actor in his own right.
Yeah,
comedic, dramatic.
I've always been a fan of his. I didn't watch his stuff on Saturday Night Live, but things I've seen him in movie wise, I think been great. I thought Jessica Chastain was great too. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything where I disliked her. I think she's a fantastic actress. James McAvoy was good. The guy they got to play Eddie is spot on. Oh God, it's like his son, or they went and like kidnapped Eddie from the future. Like he looks just like him.
And they knew it because that scene where they're in the pharmacy and it transitions. I'm like that was like them showing off, and I'm like, I was all for it. I was like, that is just beautiful.
It was, and it wasn't even just one of those things we cast him because he looked like him. He was great in his role too.
He's James Ranson is the actor, and he was in season 2 of The Wire. He was fantastic in it. He was also in season 2 or 3 of Bosch on Amazon Prime. He was also in Generation Kill on HBO.
Yeah, I saw he was. I've never watched Generation Kill, but that was.
It's okay.
I went through and kind of like saw the filmography of all the people on it after I saw it, so I did see that he was in Generation Kill, but I've never seen it.
But he was phenomenal. Like Bill Hader's getting all the love as he should be, but like I am carrying a torch for James Ranson's performance as Eddie, because he was fantastic.
The guy that played Ben was really good too. I enjoyed his performance. I liked his characterization in this film much better than I liked the original miniseries.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So because in the original miniseries, he's just a straight man, but obviously in chapter 2, Ben's got some secrets.
Yeah,
and I think it plays out well, and the way they kind of allude to that, I think, is very well done. And the actor, I thought, did a really good job. The only one I would say, like the guy that played Ben, I just kind of thought was like, okay.
Ben or Mike? I think you may have confused the two. Do you mean Mike has a secret?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Mike. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike is who I was talking about.
Okay.
Ben, the guy that played older Ben, I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I feel like he had more work to do, because like clearly like a big thing of his is that his character like lost a ton of weight and stuff. So like he doesn't have that like anchor of like really getting like, I don't know, not emulating, but like he's working off of like a different character to an extent. A more changed character, I should say.
I just didn't feel like he had a lot to. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot for him to do as far as. I don't know. There was just something. It was okay. It was serviceable. I don't know. There's just something missing with it. I didn't really connect with adult Ben all that much.
That's fair.
So,
fun Easter egg is that, did you read that the opening shot of Ben, the first shot with Ben, they kind of zoom in on kind of a...
Was doing the consulting?
Yeah. Kind of a bigger gentleman, and that actor is actually the guy who played Kid Ben in the miniseries.
I did hear that, or I did read that. Cool. Yeah, that was neat.
And how about Bill Skarsgård? How do you think?
Oh, fucking! I mean, what? Why even bring it up? He's amazing. Right. Oh, yeah. Like he was amazing in the first one, and he fucking killed it in the second one.
Like literally. How do you feel it compares to the first one, his performance?
I feel like we got more of him in this one, and I was satisfied with that. So, in the first one, I feel like is a lot of the kids' fears, and not a ton of Pennywise, but Pennywise here and there, just kind of sprinkled here, like at the end of their little scenario. But in this one, I feel like we get a little bit more Pennywise, and as much Pennywise as I can get, I love it, and he's amazing.
Nice. Oh yeah, I'm like he's so like Bill Skarsgård's amazing.
And I don't have like I've seen him in this and his short piece in Deadpool 2, and that's pretty much all I have for his filmography.
Definitely recommend Castle Rock on Hulu. Yeah,
and I guess he's gonna be in The Stand, I hear.
No, his brother Alexander Skarsgård is going to be in it. But also about Castle Rock is season 2 is coming out next month. And it's an anthology show, so each season is a different story and everything.
That's like Amazon Prime, right?
Hulu.
Yep.
Okay. But season 2 is going to have Annie Wilkes from Misery.
Oh, nice.
So I'm super excited for that. They've got Lizzie Kaplan in the trailer. Like, it's amazing, like the way they have her kind of done up, like her hair and her makeup, but also like the lighting and the way that they shoot her in at least in the shots that were shown in the trailer. It's it's clear that they studied the movie, and because she's a dead ringer for Kathy Bates. But anyway,
I guess Bill Skarsgård said he's open to playing Pennywise again. So, obviously I'm not as well versed into the mythology as you, but I'll go see it if he is Pennywise again.
Part of me is like, okay, they have this whole, like, they're talking about, like, and It Chapter 3 could be a prequel about Pennywise and, like, that character, but I'm just like, I don't need it. I'd see it.
Just for Pennywise, that's it.
Yeah, so. I mean, I'd see it too, and I mean, as I've said before on Tower Junkies, we're living in a post-Dark Tower world, so any Stephen King property, like, has a very low benchmark to overcome, but... I mean, I've got the book is like 1,200 pages. I've got the 2 movies. The miniseries has its moments. Like I'm cool.
I'll probably never watch the miniseries again.
It doesn't hold up.
It does not.
Yeah. So the performances are great. Okay, what did you think? Spoilers. Okay,
let's just go into spoilers.
We talked about that, the set pieces in general. And let's talk in broad terms about the climax of the movie. How'd you feel about the ending? You said it was satisfactory to you?
Yeah, I thought it stuck the ending pretty well. I'm going to have to... Like, the way that he is defeated, there's some... it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So, but the build-up to it was fantastic. So, like, the final battle, if you will, was really well done. It's just, there's a little anticlimactic nuances with the way that Pennywise is defeated. So, now I kind of want to ask get your opinion on that.
Oh, I have opinions.
I'm sure, so.
Yeah.
Because obviously I have no reference for what happens in the book, and I don't want you to tell me what happens in the book, but just tell me how it compares, at least.
And final broad thing, I know I said that before, but the final broad thing about that is, how did you feel about how the movie incorporated the child actors and the flashbacks in the movie?
I understand that you're going to have problems with the children actors growing between the films. I was a little distracted by the technology for making the kids look younger. And I think one of the biggest problems I had was Richie's voice.
Is it Richie's or Eddie's? Because I had a problem with Eddie's voice.
I had a problem with Richie's.
Okay.
Like, Richie's voice, I thought was completely off. Almost to the point where it looked dubbed to me.
Oh, interesting.
So, and I get it, so I'm not going to I wouldn't mark the movie down for it.
Sure.
But parts of that did kind of take me out of the experience.
Okay, interesting. Did they do de-aging CGI a little bit?
Okay,
did. See,
with Richie's, I noticed it with Richie.
Really?
Like, I really noticed the de-aging. Like, it looked like a face filter, like an Instagram face filter to me.
Wow. See, and I'm so dumb about that kind of stuff. Like, I don't pick up on that kind of stuff. That and, like, wonky accents, I'm not too keen on, like identifying. But I'm curious how it's going to, like, now that you've pinpointed, like, Richie in particular, I'll pay special focus to him next time I see it.
I guess the kid that played Ben grew like 9 inches.
Oh, really?
And they had to like shave his legs and do all kinds of stuff. So I get it.
Yeah.
I like I said, I'm not gonna mark it down for it, but it
also it's like Warner Brothers and like it's not Disney. They don't have Disney money.
Right. They don't
like
have the MCU spouting out $1 billion movies. So,
exactly.
Like I said, while distracting, it's not something that I would say it detracted from the movie.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they spent the whatever amount they did on that, from my experience, rather than taking it out of like the visual effects and stuff, like in the set pieces, because they did some really cool visual things. So I think that's a good trade-off. Let's go into spoilers. So we're going to go into spoilers for It Chapter 2. I'm going to play a clip from the trailer. If you want to avoid spoilers, go ahead and check the show notes for timestamps. If you want to listen to the spoilers, just keep listening. So here's so here's a clip from the trailer, and we'll be back with spoilers for It Chapter 2.
Hello. For 27 years, I dreamt of you. I craved you. I missed you. We need to finish it. For good.
So, spoilers for It Chapter 2. On Tower Junkies, we went chronological, it ran long. So, I just want to kind of let you kind of run with the spoilers, but I want to kind of get your read on one thing to get us kicked off. The Adrian Mellon scene at the beginning, the homosexual couple that are victimized, violently brutalized and everything. How did you feel about that scene, and have you read any of the kind of responses to it?
I didn't know there was any controversy to it. The scene it's a great way. I thought it was a great scene to bring me back into it. Obviously it's a horrific act what happens to these two men. I don't know. It's like, it's a depiction of something that, while may not be a regular thing in society, occasionally does happen. And it would be something that I don't expect it to happen in small towns, but
sure,
it's something that, some people, there's probably some small-minded people in smaller towns. What's the controversy with it?
So, first, before I get to the actual controversy, just to reiterate, like, it's
a brutal scene.
It's so brutal, and I feel like that's needed to bring us into what's happened.
It's a horror movie,
exactly. Also, the kind of point is to show that Derry. And maybe they didn't make this point clear enough, but the point is okay, Derry is still even though has been sleeping for 27 years, Derry is still infected. Like the townspeople of Derry are still under the spell of it. So it's that, but the controversy, it is from the book. It is in the book. And it was not in the miniseries because it was network television and everything.
Sure.
But the controversy is that when Stephen King wrote the book, at least part of the controversy, I guess, when he wrote the book back in 1986, he based it on an actual hate crime that occurred in Bangor, Maine. That was very similar to as it's depicted in the book and in the movie. Guy was accosted, beaten, and beaten to death and thrown over a canal in Bangor, Maine because he was a homosexual. The actual victim of that crime that King based it on had asthma, and in the movie they give the character asthma, and I guess some people are that's maybe a little bit kind of messy to kind of have that as
I don't know. It's an event that happened, and it's a reference to an event. I don't get. Some people may think it was disrespectful because it's a blockbuster horror movie, and it just seems like it's in poor taste to kind of, even though it's based on a real event or inspired by. I should say. Here's my thing about that though. That scene is not meant to instill any type of thank God this is happening. This is supposed to instill a certain amount of disgust for what these guys are doing to this couple.
And I'm so glad you said that because I'm of the same mind. I agree. And I talked to one of our listeners, Biz. She messaged me and was we talked about the movie, and my kind of thing is I don't know. It's not, like you said, it's not like it's glorifying it, or it's not creating an incentivizing thing for bigots to use it as an excuse to.
It's supposed to be a horrific act, and it very much is portrayed as a horrific attack.
Right. Also, I feel like it's kind of countered or at least attempted to be balanced by Richie's plot line in the movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not like the movie saying oh, we hate gay people or anything. It's no, this is just demonstrating the pure evil that is residing in Derry, and also this character struggling with his closeted homosexuality. So yeah, I don't know.
I didn't know there was any controversy. I thought it was a great way to reintroduce Pennywise, and it's a horror movie. It's a horrific act. A lot of things in media are based on things of historical significance.
And there are much more gratuitous examples in the horror genre.
And the fact that King actually wrote into a book as a reference to an actual event.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't even say reference to an event because the character isn't named similar. The character doesn't have asthma in the book. It's just he drew inspiration from it. Okay.
I don't know. This just sounds like outrage culture to me.
I'm kind of the same mind, I think. But it brought us back to Derry. There's no way to transition out of that.
Right. Yeah. I thought that scene was very effective, especially the reintroducing of Pennywise there. That was a very creepy, scene of him at the, on the bank of the river, and then him just taking a huge chunk of bite out of that guy. That was very effective.
Yeah. totally agree. And like the thing that I was kind of fixated on was all the balloons. Like that was just chilling to me.
It was so good.
Yeah, and like that was like because that's like the first scene of the movie just about, and I'm just like. They have a budget. Like, they have so much more money now.
No, like, you can't beat the first scene of chapter 1. It's just, you just can't.
Yeah.
But it did a good enough job to, it held its own against that.
Absolutely. And so one of my kind of gripes or criticisms about the movie is that the beginning section, the first act where they're all getting their calls and they're getting called back to Derry, and I'm excited to see what Andy Muschietti does with a director's cut, because I think he said that there's going to be an extended cut.
Yeah, I've read that too.
I think he's also said that he wants to do like a super cut, like mini-series type of cut that combines both movies.
I'd watch it.
100%, me too. But I feel like this theatrical version of it, Chapter 2, and it's tough to say because it's necessary, because it's a 3-hour movie, but I feel like that first act where they're all getting their calls back to Derry, it's like it's too rapid. Like it's like kind of a little bit of whiplash for exposition whiplash, I guess.
I kind of get what you're saying there, but it's one of those things that you don't want to spend too much time on it because you want to get these characters back into Derry.
Plus it's 6 different phone calls to different characters. Like, I
thought it was effective. I honestly thought it was well done. I liked Richie's where he's puking off the balcony. Yeah. I loved Eddie's when he's on the phone in the SUV.
It says so much about the character. Like, there's so much about the character in that, because when he sees that the call is coming from Derry, he's just like, he says goodbye to his wife. He calls her mommy, and I'm like, oh, like that tells you everything you need to know. I
love that they use the same actress as his mom. That was like, when I saw it, I'm like, that's his mom. And like the first thing I did when the movie rolled and I went out to my car, I was like, I got on IMDb. I'm like, fucking yeah, I was right. That is his mom. So great. That was amazing.
Oh yeah. The other thing in that portion, because I kind of want to set aside some time to talk about the Bev portion, but when we get Ben's reintroduction, I guess, there's such a cool shot, and I talked about this on Tower Junkies, but the shot from outside of wherever he is, like the building he's in, that pans up to the sky, and you zoom into the sky with the stars, and the stars transition into puzzle pieces. I just thought like that, like this is a blockbuster horror movie, and like we get that type of just like cinematic
thought
beauty
into the cinematography. No, I don't have that gripe with the start of it. I thought it was, I don't know, I thought it was paced well, reintroducing the characters.
I think for the most part, I'm mostly just dissatisfied, I'd say, because I like it, but I'm just dissatisfied with Bev and Stanley's.
Well, yes. I mean, Stanley's was glossed over. I don't know. I thought Bev's was good.
See, yeah, and that's fair. And I think
and this is just because I've been around it in my line of work, but that was a spot on interpretation of an abusive husband right there. Yeah. Like that was, I've seen that scene. So that was effective.
Yeah. I did like, and I'm stepping on what I said on Tower Junkies, but I did like the kind of symmetry or mirror aspect of it where she knocks him out with a headshot with a phone, because it's like, it's a nice symmetry to how she took down her dad in Chapter 1 with the toilet tank lid. So I like that, and we'll talk about Eddie's final thing, because I had some. Well, no, I won't talk about that. Ignore that.
Ignored.
But Stanley. So yeah, I should have asked you this before. When was the last time you watched the miniseries? Like, did you know Stanley?
Yeah, I watched the miniseries before I went to go see Chapter 1.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I want to say I borrowed it from you. I think I borrowed off of a drive from you to watch it.
Maybe, yeah, totally legal digital purchase.
Yeah. Yep. So I watched it then, and I knew ahead of time Stanley because I saw the miniseries when I was a kid,
right?
And one of the standout, like it didn't scare me, but one of the memorable parts when I was a kid was the part where Stanley's head's talking to everybody in the restaurant. Yeah. So,
and I love how the movie paid homage to that.
Yeah,
I loved it.
So I was aware Stanley was not going to make it to Derry.
Okay.
So I was just kind of. So yeah, I thought
Gotcha.
it was a little glossed over. Like Stanley was a little glossed over, but I think that it paid dividends at the end with Stanley's letter to the losers.
It did, and that's something I was not really on board with.
Oh, you didn't? You didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
I did. I thought it was. Well, then again, I might have a different perspective of that when I read the book, but I don't know. I was on board with that. I thought it was a good tie up and a good hats off to Stanley.
And I'm growing an appreciation for that. I will say that, but I think my gripe is that it just that and some other things about the ending just makes it too much of a happy ending, which is fine. Like it's I didn't want it to be overly cynical or anything, but I think my biggest thing about the Stanley thing at the end is that I don't know, maybe I'm too married to the format that's in the book and then the miniseries, the dual narrative that goes concurrently with each other. Because if you remember in the miniseries, like, that's one of the first, I think that's the end of the first episode is him killing himself. Yeah. And, that establishes so well how, the gravity of what they're up against. And at the time, we don't know the story or anything. So I guess it makes sense to kind of have that here, because it's played up like he's, like you said, he took his position off the board so that they could win. And it's I don't know, I kind of feel like that's a not disservice to the story, but it feels like without that, if he had just killed himself because he couldn't bear to face it or anything, that is such a big thing. That's the epitome of him being terrified of facing his past and everything. And that puts the losers at such a disadvantage. And it's not necessarily out of selfishness. It's just that he just can't do it. And despite that, and to have him be well, I did it so that you guys could win. It
still shows his terror. He's admittedly I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I'm a liability if I show up. I'm not able to. You guys are stronger than I am. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was effective in that sense.
Sure.
But.
Yeah. Agree to disagree. Yeah. I just had problems with it because it didn't deliver what I wanted out of it for me.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Yeah, so I wanted you to take point on this, but I keep railroading you or directing it. So what's the next thing you want to
jump into Henry Bowers?
That was the thing I was going to just bring up.
Okay, at the end of chapter 1, I assumed that he was dead. I assumed that he had fallen down that well and he was done. Mm-hmm. So I was that kind of bothered me because I was really wanting him to return as adult Henry Bowers in chapter 2.
You weren't, or were?
I wanted him to come back.
You wanted to? Oh, yeah. You were bummed about his
I was bummed that he was
dead.
So I was happy that. Well, when they started announcing the cast and they said adult Henry Bowers, I was like, I guess he's not dead.
Yeah.
And I like how they reintroduced, or at least showed how he lived. Mm-hmm. And I liked his. He's coming back and he gets arrested by all the officers there. I like that scene, and I fucking loved Zombie Friend picking him up at the institution and driving him off. Mm. I thought that was fantastic.
That was such a nice touch. I thought that was cool. I had some. I was fine with it. How'd you feel about his performance?
He was fine. I thought, I think he was great. Maybe not great, but he was fine. Yeah. I thought he did the job. I thought he was depicted a disturbed person very well.
Who's been institutionalized.
Yeah. So
years.
no, I thought he was fine. I didn't think he was a bad performance. I didn't think it was the performance of the movie, but I thought he did a great job with it.
That's fair. That's my kind of issue, because it's a tough role. It's tough in the context of the movie because it felt like it was tonally off compared to the rest of the movie to me, because it felt like he was, at times it felt like he was over the top, but that character would be over the top.
He's been second in institution, and his visions were validated, and he's ecstatic that there's validation to his story, and now he is off to complete his missions.
Yeah, and I get that. I think that another qualm that I had that I talked about on Tower Junkies, of course, as I'm repeating all the time, is that Henry Bowers is the. I'm terrified that she's going to bite you.
She does. It's my own fault. It's okay.
Okay. And she has claws. Whenever she, well, not whenever she scratches me, but from now on, whenever she scratches me, I want to say, ooh, Kitty's got claws.
Kitty's got claws. Yeah, of course you would.
Yep. Anyway, so I kind of feel like the issue that I have, I think, with the tonal kind of disparity in my eyes is that Pennywise is the metaphysical, eternal, like, crazy villain of the movie, and Pennywise is the one that's like by definition, by the character, he is able to be that just like kooky, crazy demon thing, and to have Henry Bowers be kind of a giggly, like disturbed mind kind of thing, rather than being like, I didn't want him to be like kind of the straight villain or like but he is like the mortal villain of the movie. And I kind of feel like to have him be like kind of that disturbed to the point where it's almost, I don't want to say it's almost a comedic performance, but like it's like the tone feels
I see what you're saying.
Comedic.
I just think that is a much more accurate depiction of.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I see your point. It didn't detract, and it didn't, I don't know, I thought it fit the tone.
I did feel better about it on the second viewing, I will say that. How did you feel about his kind of two big moments, him in the bathroom with Eddie? And
the bathroom moment with Eddie was great, and Eddie had one of my favorite lines there where he was like, it's 2019, you still got a fucking mullet. Yeah. That was great.
That was good.
No, but I thought that scene, like, he's creepy as fuck. I thought he did a great job with that. And his ending was spectacular.
Okay.
Hatchets right in the back of the head. I thought it was fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, I won't really comment. If you want to hear my thoughts on that,
listen to Tower Junkies.
Yeah. What I'll say is I felt like it was too brief. Because
it's already a 3-hour movie, or it's closing on a 3-hour movie.
And that's fair. That's totally fair. But I just feel like I feel like there are two big moments with Henry. Well, Henry and the Losers, because he does kill the orderly in the institution. I thought that was.
Oh yeah, cool. It was a good death.
Also, I just realized I didn't mention this to Tiny when we recorded on Tower Junkies, but like, the guard, watching cat videos or I think a dog video. I don't know, a video on his phone while like Henry is on the screen walking toward him like that took me back to when I worked.
I'm sure it did.
As a security guard. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, so that's cool. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Enjoyed that aspect of it. And yeah, I agree. It is already a long movie, but I don't know. I just feel like you go through the trouble of reintroducing Henry Bowers and bringing him into it, like as a secondary villain. I just kind of wish that he had more, that there was more at stake with him. Like, cause it's just like, okay, Eddie stabs him and then, Richie hatchets him. And that's it. I don't feel like he was a formidable enough villain,
well, I think Pennywise kind of was enough for them to handle.
That's true.
So I don't know. Maybe you'll get more of it in a director's cut, but I thought it was perfectly appropriate. So
sure. Okay. Hey.
The stuff with the kind of hallucinogenic stuff, when I heard that they were going to put it in there, I almost was kind of at a pause, but I thought it worked for me, and I kind of I was in on that then.
So you knew that they were going to put that?
Yeah, they said originally during production that they were going to introduce kind of a more how do they put it? Kind
metaphysical?
Of like metaphysical take on it. So
see, and I took that a completely different way when I heard that. Listen to Tower Junkies. Yeah.
No, so I was I like that perspective. I like Mike's kind of digging into the mythology of the creature and finding out. You know, it's funny because The one gripe I will have about that part is he's telling them, is like, hey, look, this Indian tribe, they dealt with them and they taught me how to deal with it. And I was sitting there going, how come no one's asking the question of, if they dealt with them and know how to deal with them, how come it's still here?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. He does kind of keep it close to the, how did they say it in Dark Knight?
Close to the, in what?
In Dark Knight, Rises, I think. So, I think it's just the Dark Knight. He's like,
you like to play it close to the chest?
Yeah, but Nolan like switches, like it's not like the right expression. It's like he says chest or vest. I'm not sure. I don't know what the actual. Anyway, that's whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Mike kind of keeps it kind of secret.
He does, and you get when he takes it out of the little container out of Richie's hands that has the scratched out portion of it. You're like, oh shit, or something. So.
Yeah, I liked the visuals of the drugged out scene. I thought that was visually it was really cool. Yeah, and I felt like the movie was working kind of hard to keep them in Derry or give them a reason to stay in Derry, which makes sense. And we'll have to circle back and talk about the dinner scene, the Chinese, the fortune cookie scene. But like after that, they're freaked out, they're ready to leave and everything. It's a lot of convincing to keep them there, and I'm just like. I feel like they could have streamlined that a lot more, for my liking, because we get the whole Bev talking about how that she's seen everyone's death and they're gonna die within 20 years anyway if they don't face it, and it's like that's cool, that's fine, but then like they're using that to convince everyone to stick together, and then Bill and Mike come and they're like, oh, we need to do the ritual of Chewed and do all this. It's a lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like they could have parse that down a little bit.
I will say that, that it was very kind of choppy how kind of the middle of the film kind of went between them trying to find all their totems and kind of articulate what needs to be done with Pennywise.
I agree, and I didn't even really pick up or notice that she had said that like she sees them all die within 20 years. So, like that whole aspect of it was. Kind of lost me until I saw it a second time.
Oh no, I picked up on it. In fact, I mean, I feel like they bring that home at the start of the movie when they have Stanley ask, "Oh, what do we look?" And she's like, "You're taller."
Oh yeah,
you're dead, Stan.
Right,
sorry.
Right.
So no, I picked up on that.
Okay.
But the individual totem scenes I thought were fantastic.
Nice. Okay.
I really enjoyed Bill's going back to the sewer.
Yeah.
I liked. Richie's, especially kind of introduces the fact that he is homosexual. So, and kind of adds that to his character. So, yeah, like all, especially Bev's was amazing.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like,
and
when you get the visual of the creature stomping towards it, like when you see the preview, you just see the legs, but when you get the visual, holy shit, that kind of freaked me out.
Oh yeah.
So I thought Bev's was extremely effective.
I agree. That was perfect. Even like the little touches, like when she's bringing up the not floorboard, but the side thing, and she's like the cockroaches like scurry away, like just like the little touches like that, just like it was a really great like mounting tension.
It was,
and that old lady was
fucking amazing. Like that, that pause, man.
Oh yeah,
this is so good.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. So some people are saying, and we've kind of said it a little bit, that it's a long movie, and a lot of people like, and I went on a rant on Tower Junkies about this, but basically, like, anytime a movie's over 2.5 hours to 3 hours, like, inevitably everyone's going to focus on that and say, well, it's too long. But like,
I didn't have a problem with the length.
Me neither.
I thought it was, it was fine.
Same here.
It wasn't horribly paced. It wasn't as tight as the first one, but. No, I had zero problem.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was that long.
Totally agree. And again, I would have, I would rather have a all told 5.5 hour, adaptation of a 12 or 1300 page book rather than a 95-minute adaptation of 4,200 pages.
But nothing will ever beat the Avengers Endgame.
Oh, gotcha.
That's the tightest 3-hour movie in the history of film. but this wasn't distractingly long. Like it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think specifically, and I've seen some people kind of complain, and I disagree wholeheartedly with it, from my perspective, but complaining about like the flashbacks and like each individual like token scene being repetitive, because I think it was so varied, each interaction.
No, yeah, I liked the totem scenes. I thought that was a great, it brought you a little closer to each individual character.
Yes.
No, I really enjoyed that part of the film, so.
I totally agree. And I thought that it was particularly clever and almost genius that they went with that structure, like, because the idea of the two movies is like, okay, the first one is them as kids, the second one is them as adults.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to reintroduce to the kids. Like, the kids are fantastic in the first one.
Yeah,
and so it's good to see them next to their adult counterparts.
Yes,
so,
and the fact, like, that they incorporated it into the first movie in the way that it's like, well, after they had their big blowout, after they went to Nebolt house, they all went their separate ways. So, like, it's literally filling in the gap.
And I love that. I
really thought that was so clever.
I agree. I thought that was fantastic. That, like, you don't realize when you see the first movie, it's like there's a long period of time where these guys, they were not together.
Oh yeah, there's a freaking montage.
Yeah.
Just brushing it aside.
So I was a big fan of how it did that. So
very organic, and like, because I had said I was worried that going into the adult side of the story, that it was going to lose some of its magic of the first movie, because the first movie, part of the reason why that movie works so beautifully is that the kids have so much chemistry, and their performances are all incredible.
Yeah, it's like if there's like a kids Oscars, like every single one of them want to get an Oscar. And unfortunately, children are not notorious for being great actors, and that's not ragging on kid actors.
Right.
It's just they're not experienced, but every single one of those kids killed it.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
I was glad to have them back in the film.
Totally. And let's talk about King's cameo.
I thought that was fun.
Me too. Yeah.
I really have zero problem with it. I thought it was fun. It was fun. I thought it was kind of funny, him kind of poking fun of himself.
Yeah, and I, again, reiterating Tower Junkies, but I felt like the whole, like, oh, Bill doesn't know how to write an ending for his books, like, that was cute. That was a nice tongue-in-cheek thing, because that's a big criticism that a lot of people have with King. But they hit that so hard throughout the movie. Like, there were numerous references. I think it would have been much better if it was, like, introduced in the beginning scene with Peter Bogdanovich's cameo, and then not brought up again until the King cameo. Because that would have been just much more satisfying.
That was fine. It's a recurring thing on Bill, so I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. But I do have my big problem with the King cameo is that they weren't able to do the thing that they wanted to do, which I read about after the fact. So it's not like an issue with the movie, but like the idea is so just brilliant to me. Did you read anything about?
No, okay. I don't know.
So the idea, like the cameo, is that Bill, as an adult, goes in and buys his bike from King, who's the proprietor of a thrift store, an antique shop, what have you. There was going to be, they had every intention of doing a second, like, antique shop thing with young Bill and Bev, like, in the store, but the proprietor was going to be played by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. So he was going to be the younger version. I thought, like, I wish that would have happened. Like, I wish they would have made that happen. Because that's just brilliant. But alas, it didn't happen.
Oh, well.
Yep. But I liked it. The first time I saw it, I was like, okay, King isn't an actor, but yeah,
I thought it was serviceable. I mean, he's an old guy working at a thrift shop. I thought that was fine.
Yeah. He's getting attacked on both sides. But yeah, so, talking about the cat. Anyway. Yeah, just circling back to Richie and his homosexuality thing. I loved it. I thought it was a great arc for the character and everything.
I did too, yeah.
Yeah, my only problem is that there is none of that in the first movie. Like, there's nothing seeded in the first movie for that. And the thing about it, and like, this is the thing that's been sticking out to me ever since I saw someone tweet about it, that when Andy Muschietti and his team got together to make Chapter 1, it was already being developed by Cary Fukunaga. And Cary Fukunaga had a lot of pre-production done, and he had a script that he was going to do. Like, he was about to shoot the damn thing, I think. But he left over creative differences or whatever. So Andy Muschietti, like, he had that script. Like, he had that script to work off of. I don't know how much he used of it or anything, but this movie is solely Andy Muschietti and his team. And, like, I feel that because there are some like tonal inconsistencies, and there's like prime example is like they introduce the Richie's sexuality subplot, but like that wasn't like introduced at all. So like when we get that scene of young Richie in the movie theater playing the arcade games, and like he's like talking to the kid that he's playing with, and like he's like that's when we start to get the implication that he's gay. Like that kind of, it didn't surprise me or anything, but it made me play catch up because I was like instinctively like, okay, this is Chapter 2. Is there anything like that in the first one?
Me, I was just kind of like, huh, okay.
Okay. That's fair.
It was just one of those things. Yeah. Like, okay, Richie's gay.
Yeah. My biggest problem with it though is that at the end when he carves his and Eddie's initials,
right?
I feel like it would have been a lot just more powerful if he did the initials of all of the losers, because I feel like implying that he was in love with Eddie.
He was in love with Eddie. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that was just kind of a strange kind of surprise that I wasn't like it didn't track for me throughout the rest of the movie. Like, sure, they have their like bickering and everything, but like at the end when he does that, I was like sitting there thinking like, oh my god, he's gonna carve all the losers' initials and it's gonna be.
Oh really?
I really did.
Dude, he was just doing him and Eddie. Yeah. Like they had their moment when Eddie dies. They had the moment in the hammock when the flashback when Ben's fort.
How did you feel about their like pairing up in the final battle when they revisit the doors and everything?
Oh, the Pomeranian thing was amazing.
The Pomeranian thing was great. I will say that the kind of comedic beats that was another instance where it felt kind of tonally inconsistent.
No, I am a fan of a little comedial levity in high tension horror film scenarios like that.
Sure.
But it
felt a little too much to me personally, because like it felt like they were just doing like an Abbott and Costello bit or something.
Sure, but I don't know. I like the dichotomy between those two tones and things like that. I thought Drag Me to Hell, I think, does that very well too.
I still haven't seen it.
And I really enjoyed it in this. So no, I was a huge fan of it. I love the callback to the doors, and I love the callback to the Pomeranian. That worked on all cylinders for me. I was
good. And that's fair. I think I would have liked it better if it was just the Pomeranian instead of the Pomeranian and them bickering back and forth. Or if it was just them bickering back and forth, but not something like cute and funny against the door. Like having both of those things happen felt like they were just. It was pulling away from the tension for me. So
no. I'm like I said, I like those two meshing of tones.
Sure.
So,
how did you feel about going back to kind of the first act of the movie? How did you feel about the dinner scene? And
the dinner scene was fantastic.
The same.
That was great. The fortune cookie portion of it was great.
Yep.
And then the subsequent horror afterwards, and then the poor witches coming over there as.
Yeah, that was a good comedic beat.
Oh, it was a great comedic beat.
Yeah,
as Richie's just pounding the table, it
was Mike.
Oh, was it Mike pounding? Okay,
with the chair.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought that was great, and just the way that whole scene with the fortune cookies is realized. Like, I was so on board with that. Like, I think, like, as of now, it looked great, but I have a sense that, like, with time, I feel like the special effects there won't age that well, but it's so like kind of just out there and grotesque that I was like, I was for it.
Yeah, I was great.
And the kid, Richie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the line.
Yeah.
I don't write my own stuff. I knew it.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, there are two kids in the movie, that meet horrible ends. That kid was the kid on the skateboard with Bill, in the funhouse, which we'll talk about in a second, but I want to talk about Vicky,
the little girl?
the little girl with the birthmark.
God, that was a good scene for me.
See, yeah, we'll talk about it, because like it felt to me like that was so inconsequential to the rest of the movie to me, because she's this is one of the things I was kind of ruminating on in between my screenings of it in that week, because it felt like that. I have no way to corroborate this or anything, but it felt like the studio was like, okay, well, we need more Pennywise here, so go ahead and throw this scene in, and just kind of just do the thing you did with Georgie in the first one, and do that
I
here.
think it really just shows that he's back, he's feeding, he's active. Like, you have the first scene with the riverbank, and then you have he's active, he is back, and kids are going missing.
That's totally fair, and I agree. That's a good reason to have that. I wish I would have been much more satisfied and less cynical about it if there was another scene after it, like just having the aftermath of that. Like if they had placed that scene earlier in the movie as another example of like, oh, it's happening again, and like using that and Adrian Mellon's death in the canal as like kind of stacking up the reasons why that it needs to be defeated and the losers need to come back. But as it is in the movie, it comes after like everything's kind of like the movie is moving, and we don't get any follow-up with
even
it.
If they did use it as a means to get more Pennywise, I'm okay with it, because I'm okay with more Pennywise.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a good scene with Pennywise.
Sure.
I like how it shows him fucking with the kids.
And that's what I'm struggling with too, because it is a good scene. Like it's disturbing. Like I say that, okay, it's just like, oh, it's the Georgie thing, but with another kid. But it's an added layer that the kid has this mark on her face that she's clearly insecure about, and it's Pennywise preying on that insecurity,
right.
and like that brings such an interesting level to his creepiness, disturbed nature, and his murderous activities. But I just think it felt out of place to me.
No, I disagree. Yeah. I thought it was a great scene.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What else? Because we need to talk about the ending.
You said you were going to bring up the skateboard kid.
Oh, yeah, the skateboard kid.
I thought that was a really, really fun.
The blood.
Scene. Yeah.
The blood was so cool.
And Pennywise's facial distortions were
creepy.
So scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was just a horrible death. And, man,
and like, the idea of a fun house and like the mirror or whatever, it's like, that's something that's been done, but there's something about the circumstance of it and the way that it's shot, because like when he goes into like the little tunnel into the fun house, like it's like not to put on my like film snob thing, but very evocative of Stanley Kubrick in 2001.
It was though, you're right.
Yeah, it was like clearly like maybe not an homage, but like just clearly like, inspired by that. But just like that, and then just the idea of like this grown man like frantically trying to get this kid out of there. Like, just, I put myself in the position of the skateboard kid and like thinking like,
what the fuck are you doing,
what the
man?
fuck is going on? This guy's talking about he's talking about, like, I saw him and he was like, yelling at me about the sewer, and now he's here. Like, what? Like, that's a terrifying premise in and
You're molesting me, aren't you, sir?
Yeah. But then when Pennywise comes up, it's like, holy shit, like it's creepy. My only kind of qualm with it is that I felt like in my first viewing, obviously, like I had to play catch up with it, because like I was thinking that it was Pennywise fucking with him and that it didn't really happen.
Oh no, I felt for sure like that, clearly it was Pennywise fucking with him, but for a good reason.
Like the kid was really dead.
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know. I thought it was like an apparition. And I didn't like that it was just like I felt like it was a rehash of the first movie to an extent, in that it was a means to get Bill to go after Pennywise alone.
Well, it was.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it was for, but you have to have that catalyst. So.
I disagree. You really don't. Because by that point, like, they know the score. Like, they're planning on going after Pennywise.
Here's the thing. You needed them to go immediately. So, sure, they're going to go face Pennywise, but, the movie's come to a close. You need something to push them there now.
And see,
you don't need we don't need more preparation. We need a sense of urgency. Oh shit, Bill's going to go take it. All right, we got to do this now.
I think in my opinion, I think that cheapens the bond of the losers, honestly. Like, I feel like that felt more contrived than really anything in the movie, because like it wasn't needed. Like, I don't think we needed that catalyst, because like, they would all just meet at the library and be like, hey, let's go after him. Let's do it. Like, he could have just gone back and been like, oh, let's go kill this fucking clown. Having it be this whole thing where Bill's going alone, like, that just felt like anachronistic to his character, in my opinion.
No, because it to me, it draws back to the
Bev.
The climax in the first one, where Pennywise has him and Bill's like, go, this is all me, guys. This is all my fault. Just go, save yourselves. I'm sacrificing myself, and he's doing it again. He's like, I'm gonna go. This is my all this is my fault, and I'm tired of people dying because of shit that I started. So I'm gonna go do this.
That's fair. I think we'll have to agree to disagree, because maybe I'll feel better about it in repeat viewings, but it left a sour taste in my mouth.
No, fair enough.
Yep. So the final confrontation with Pennywise, how did you feel about it?
I loved them going down back in the sewer. I thought that was, again, very effective, very creepy. The scene with the head.
Yes, in
the house was fantastic.
Yep. You haven't read. Anyway, I didn't put this together because it's been so long since I've seen The Thing, but like, it's like an homage.
It was very much an homage to The Thing.
And like, I need to rewatch The Thing because it's been so many years.
I watched it last October, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, man, the going back down the sewer was fantastic, and the imagery was great, man. It was super creepy imagery, bringing them back to where it all ended in the first one. So and the getting to the climax portion of it, it almost came off too much big monster versus the group.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought it was effective.
Sure. Okay.
And it would have been less effective had they not had their
tokens or
their illusions.
Okay. Like they're different.
Like when Bev's trapped in the bathroom stall.
Oh yeah, they're different, like set pieces.
Yeah. So I think it would have been less effective had it not been for that. But
if it was just them in the pit going after, I agree. Like the imagery of Bev in the stall with the blood and everything, countered with Ben in the kind of clubhouse that's filling up with dirt, like the grave,
right? Like
that was another, like similar to the sky turning into the puzzle pieces at the beginning of the movie. Like that was just a visual flourish, and that I didn't expect to see that type of kind of metaphysical and unique kind of perspective in this type of horror movie. Also, and we were running long on Tower Junkie, so I didn't get to make this connection, but if you're halfway through, or if you got halfway through Jarring of the Three, you'll maybe appreciate this, but I kind of feel like, I don't know if it was an intentional reference, but the idea of them kind of being pushed over to opposite sides, Bev and Ben, and then going through like a doorway into like a different world, like different like set. I just felt like Drawing of the Three, the
could have been
doorways. But There, minor nitpick, not nitpick, but like a wish that I wish would have happened is in the stall when all the graffiti was there. I wish that there was more like Stephen King references, but I didn't detect really any.
I wasn't even looking for anything like that.
I was looking so hard. And then we get, I think her dad saying like, "Here's Johnny," and I was like, that's a little too on the nose.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a little too much.
Yeah,
I'll give you that one. I thought the what's the ceremony called?
The Ritual of Chud.
That was a little funny. Like they're chanting of the what's the chant that they say? Block out the light takes over the. I don't know.
Yeah, something.
And like yell louder. I'm like
that. Yeah,
that was a little goofy.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny, I didn't make this connection now at all, until right now, and I doubt, like, this isn't anything, but, like, the chant that they do reminds me of, like, the last line of True Detective Season 1, where they're outside of the hospital and they're looking up and, like, I think Matthew McConaughey says, like, I think the light's winning or something, like, because they're saying, like, a lot of darkness, and he's like, I think the light's winning. Like, just the phrasing kind of sounded kind of familiar. But that's an interesting, like, Fukunaga kind of
I was so happy that's not how they defeated him, though. So
Yeah. I was not invested with the depiction of the Ritual of Chud in the movie. I'll say that. I'll phrase it that way. Also, the tokens thing felt very video game subplot to me, like tasking to get the things, so I'll leave it at that.
I can see that.
I made the joke to Tiny on Tower Junkies that, like, the Ritual of Chud is in this movie is essentially the equivalent of a bunch of
fetch quests.
Well, that and like the actual instance where they throw the artifacts in there, it's like, did they all like have a bad breakup in the 90s and they're trying to cleanse their spirits or something?
I take it as different in the book.
Yeah, and me and Tiny, you and I will have to have a conversation. But I will say that it would be interesting to see this property readapted in like another 27 years, like in another miniseries that is more faithful in its climax to the book. But so they do that and everything, and then it's kind of revealed that Mike was lying and that there was a sacrifice and that they were going to. The actual ritual was supposed to kill them, but he thought that it was the bond that they shared would be enough to survive. And then they had that. I felt like that was just another kind of unnecessary thing. Like it was a weird, like, dramatic turn in the climax of the movie that I feel like we didn't need that interpersonal conflict. There.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, but again, it also, maybe that was supposed to be like the, that like their bond breaking, and that's why there was like more of a struggle to defeat Pennywise. So I kind of get it, but I don't know. Richie and the Deadlights.
That was super good.
So cool.
Yeah, that was very effective.
Yeah, and the way that like the deadlights go through the back of Pennywise's head and through his mouth, and then like that was so cool.
Yeah, that was
so cool.
Like that was some good imagery right there.
Yeah. And how'd you feel about Eddie's death?
I thought it was good. Obviously you knew it was coming. I liked his last interaction with Richie.
I fucked your mom or something. Yeah.
So, no, I thought it was much better than the fucking miniseries.
Yeah,
this is battery acid. He yells, "This is battery acid." You just come and start spraying his inhaler at it, and the monster's like, "All right."
Yeah.
So no, I thought Eddie's death was good.
I did too. My only problem is that the way, and this is a minor thing, like the way the stinger or pincer or whatever comes, like gets him, felt too Hollywood, like dramatic death scene in a Hollywood movie. Like I would have preferred like a more, I don't know. It kind of took me out of the movie. That's like, okay, I've seen and I can't really name any, but I feel like I've seen that type of thing.
No,
happen.
I see what you're saying. That's a very common. That's very iconic. Oh, come right out of you.
Yeah,
like it's in Aliens. It's like it's in a lot of things.
Yeah,
so.
it's
no. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, but the whole idea of them. Yeah, how they actually defeated Pennywise.
So yeah,
let's talk about that.
So pretty much they bully Pennywise to death.
Yeah.
So that did not work well for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like there's other ways to make him small. You're a bad clown.
Yeah.
That's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird, and it did not seem logical that would work.
I agree, and we didn't talk about this. So we didn't talk about Eddie's flashback or anything in the pharmacy, but I want to mention the needle drop of Just Call Me Angel in the morning for like 3 seconds. Like I felt like that felt way out of place.
Oh no, I thought it was funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
That goes back to my like of the levity mashed with the tension. So,
okay,
no, I was good with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That just seemed really the way they defeat him just seemed really weird.
Yeah,
and it almost felt like to me like they kind of didn't have any good idea how to take him down.
Totally agree.
So
totally agree.
Don't tell me how it's different.
Won't.
Just tell me how different is it?
Very. It's very different. There's longer conversations we'll have to have because there's.
Is there any semblance of the belittling of Pennywise?
I think the closest we get in the book is basically the miniseries depiction of imbuing normal things with like, oh, this is battery acid type of thing.
Right.
I'll say that much. Yeah, I want to give a caveat, but I don't want to. I won't say it, but like the context, I won't say it. So I did, speaking somewhat of that, Eddie's kind of cowardice I thought was great.
And I loved how they built him up.
Oh my God, it was so great.
Who got stabbed in the cheek and then took the knife out and stabbed Henry back in the chest? That was...
Yeah. Who defeated a demonic clown before he was 14 years old? Who
married a woman 10 times his body mass?
I loved it so much. And I thought it was like, I didn't get to the point where I was like choked up, but I thought like it was very endearing when Bev hands him the like fire poker or the fence thing, and she's like, "This kills monsters if you believe." I was like, "That, like my heart." That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I think part of that is like I knew where it was leading, obviously, but I just thought that was just a very endearing moment, and like those little moments like that, like where they have that connection, is just really great. Like,
well, that's what makes these movies so good.
Totally,
is the character connections. So
yeah. So the kind of aftermath of everything, the denouement of the movie, how did you feel about the resolution of everything?
I thought it was great. You know, obviously you knew that Ben and Bev end up together, and she fucking wins the lottery, gets to be on a yacht with him. So, correct me if I'm wrong. In the original miniseries, did they start to forget again what happened?
It's been funny enough. I forget the miniseries, but I kind of want to abstain. Well, okay, if it's in the miniseries, yes.
Yeah, I feel like they started to, and that change between the films, I'm okay with. I liked the resolution and kind of Bill's kind of reasoning behind it. So.
I hated it.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, if you want me to expound on it, listen to Tower Junkies. I was not on board with that.
So they forget in the book?
I'll abstain from that question.
Okay. So they forget in the book.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. But like, I really felt like.
What did you feel about the little, that was very much a throwback to Stand By Me.
Yeah, that. It was okay. It was cute, I guess. Yeah. It was fine. It wasn't as distracting as Here's Johnny. Or any of the Easter eggs in the Dark Tower. But yeah, I feel like they didn't stick the landing in that last segment, like the denouement of the movie. I feel like they kind of squandered it for
a nice wrap up,
yes,
happy ending.
I feel like they're like this story, these characters. We've now had, this is the third iteration of it, like the book, miniseries, and now these two movies. I just feel like it's been done better. Like the way that the book ends is like immaculate to me, and maybe that's part of the reason why I can't get on board with it.
And my opinion on it might change once I've read the book, so I'll withhold my opinion further until then. But no, I was satisfied with it, and like I said earlier, I really enjoyed the letter from Stanley. So
yeah, that's fair.
That's coming from a guy who's only seen the miniseries in this movie. So
yep, I think we'll have to have a longer conversation when you finish the book. I'm looking forward to that.
Right.
Yeah. It's 10:46. Yeah. Do you want to forego? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll do it for our review of It Chapter 2. We're gonna forego potpourri because I've worked tomorrow and Fekkes has Legos to assemble.
It's true.
Yeah. So that'll do it for our review. Check out Tower Junkies for a more book nerdy review of the movie with Tiny. Also, I forgot to mention this at the top of the episode, but I was recently on 2 different Twilight Zone podcasts, Between Science and Superstition, and submitted for your approval. I was a guest on both of those podcasts recently. Check that out. I'll put links in the show notes. Also, check out our friends at Nightmare in Edgewood if you're in Indianapolis and want a good haunted house experience. Check that out at nightmareинedgewood.com. They are great, and they are great at what they do. And check out our other podcast and our other podcasts. And I think next week we're going to be reviewing Ad Astra. As of right now, it's probably going to be me and Tiny, and maybe we'll add Fekkes.
It's possible
to that.
It's possible.
Anyway, that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Later.
And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy.
Like, we had gotten about 30 minutes into the tour, and I noticed that Cassie was falling back a little bit, and not for any other reason except for Cassie's not really well versed on operating the gears on a bike.
Sure.
So we come to a stop, and I turn around and be like, so, hey, look, with these gears, like, I don't want to work the gears. I'm like, you're falling behind. Let me just try to explain to you something. She's like glaring at me, and I go, when you're pedaling in your cadence, what the fuck is a cadence? I'm like, okay, all right, you know what? All right, that's fine. That's fine.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Fekkes, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OV295. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!